having a fantastic day out there. Today is going to be a very interesting video. In fact, probably the hardest video I've had to come up with so far, and it's going to be 5 things that I do not like about this 2021 Chevy Camaro 2SS 1LE. It's going to be very hard to come up with these items, and it's actually taken me days to even come up with 5 things that I don't like about it, because it is such a good, well-balanced, fun car. And it's also important to note that a lot of these things I'm talking about today are problems that many of the other muscle cars and other domestic vehicles will always have in them as well. So definitely don't think I'm just here picking on this car, because I do absolutely love the thing. So with that being said, let's jump into it. Alright, you guys, so the first item that I do not like is actually going to be back here in the taillight area. So this car itself, as it sits, was just over $50,000 MSRP. I think it was like $51,300. And here's the issue. You have these beautiful LED taillights here, as you can see. You have beautiful LED headlights as well, but guess what? You probably could see this a little bit in my intro, but they actually cheapened out with incandescent backup lights that are just kind of like right in there, and incandescent license plate lights as well. And I mean, for a car that costs this much, it's a little bit disappointing, but like I said, in full transparency, other cars like the Mustang also have incandescent backup lights as well. It's just on that car, they are literally on the very, very, very bottom of the car, almost on the ground, so it becomes a lot less obvious on that car itself. So that's kind of disappointing, but luckily the aftermarket has plenty of good options for backup LED lights and LED license plate lights. So I have already done that on the license plate lights, and we're going to get the backup LED lights in here probably sometime next week. So that issue is going to be fixed very quickly. So not a very big deal, but that is the first item on the list. Item number 2 on the list actually has to do with the paint. As good as this Riverside Blue paint does look on this car, yeah, it does look awesome. It unfortunately is pretty cheap paint, and what I mean by that is basically it scratches up very easily. There's a million little hairline scratches on this car, especially it's kind of cloudy today, so I doubt that's even going to show up on camera, but there's hairline scratches all over sort of the back here. And it also is not very friendly to rock chips and things like that. I mean, the car sits pretty low anyway to the ground, so it's going to be grabbing a bunch of that stuff all the time. I definitely did cheapen out with this car because my budget isn't very big, and I'm lucky enough just to get in this car as it is. I do not have ceramic coating or anything on it, which this front end kind of dearly is, you know, asking for it. So I mean, it does look awesome, it does look badass. You just want to make sure you're a couple steps back and you kind of miss some of the imperfections and whatnot with it. So long term, I'm not really sure how that's going to hold up. I will say, comparing this to other products out there on the market, the metallic metal gray paint that I had on my previous Ford Mustang GT was far superior paint compared to this. But I will say, from back here, man, this thing does look absolutely awesome, and I think almost anybody out there would agree with that. So it's a very nice looking car. I'm not sure what's going to happen to this paint after a few years, but we'll deal with it then, because you know what, it's worth it. I mean, look at it, it's just cool. All right, you guys, we have moved to the inside of the Camaro for item number 3 on the list, and that would be interior rattles. Now, if you drive a muscle car, especially one with a V8, and you tell me your car does not have any rattles, you are probably either deaf or your exhaust covers it all up. Either way, all the power in the world to you. I know Mustangs have rattles. I'm sure Chargers and Challengers have all sorts of rattles as well, and I know this car has a ton of them. It is almost like the king of rattles. When you're driving down the road, this A-post right here, that A-post over there, this dash over here, it all rattles like crazy. There's also a really bad rattle in the right rear area of the car that kind of is intermittent, but I think that's more so related to the axle back exhaust that's installed on this car. We're trying to research that some more. I can't blame GM for that, but I can blame them for the A-post, the dash rattles. Also, this door rattles pretty good too when you're going down the freeway at highway speeds. And like I said before, any muscle car is going to have some sort of rattles. My Mustang GT was pretty bad, but this car is way worse in that aspect. It just feels kind of cheaply put together in that aspect. Ooh, there's a nice Corvette right there, a nice C8. Anyway, so you kind of get over it in a way because luckily in my climate, I can run the windows down about 90% of the time. So as long as you have the windows down, it basically gets rid of any of those rattles. And I know driving a muscle car, it's kind of stupid to complain about something that minor, but yeah, windows down and most of the problems are basically gone. But for a $50,000 car, you would kind of hope for a little bit better. But much like any other muscle car or pretty much domestic car, a lot of these things, while it has a much bigger price point to it than other models in the lineup, it does have a lot of these same bits and pieces that all the cars have. So definitely a rattle machine, but run the windows down and smile, baby, because you're driving a car that has a Tremec and it sounds good and it handles amazingly well. All right, you guys, and then item number 4 again is on the interior of the car. And one of my favorite things, if you watch the 5 things I like about the Camaro itself, was the interior quality. And overall, it is a very nice interior, especially with these Alcantara and leather suede seats. Even the steering wheel is really nice. The shifter is great. There's a lot of things to like about here, but my one other complaint in the interior, other than it being a rattle machine, is probably some of the quality of the switches and the gauges and the buttons. And what I mean by that is these buttons on the steering wheel, like you touch this, it just feels really, really cheap, and it looks really, really cheap as well. I'm sure, I haven't looked it up on like Google or anything, but these are probably the same switches that were in like a 2004, 2005, like GMC Yukon. You know what I mean? Car interiors have come a long way, but these buttons are all kind of cheap, and they really don't feel that good when you push them. They kind of feel like they're just gonna come off already. These switches over here are actually quite a bit better. These actually feel pretty good, and then these things over here feel pretty cheap as well. So and I know those are kind of like the same switches that are in every Camaro that we're talking about, and I'm sure a lot of other GM products as well. It's one of those things where it's part shared. It doesn't really matter about the price of the car or anything. You're gonna find it in any of them. So it just kind of is what it is. It's not a very big deal, but again, just one of those things that kind of is annoying. Like I said, I love this car so much, it's hard to find a bunch of things to even complain about anyway. So that's item number 4. All right, you guys, and then item number 5, the final item of things that I do not like about this car, and it's hard to come up with, like I told you about, is probably what happens when you put the car in battery mode. Say, for instance, I'm at work on my lunch break or whatever, and I just want to sit in here in the car with the windows down and watch what happens. So we're going to press our little button here. Hold it down a little longer. We put the car in battery mode right there. All this stuff comes on and everything. So, all right, I want to put the windows down. So, window down, window down. And then, you know what? I don't want to sit here and have the infotainment system, this stuff on, because I don't want to drain the battery or anything like that. So what do? I basically turn it off like that. And then watch this. So, the way to turn all this stuff off right here is to open the door and then shut it, right? So watch what happens. Door opens. You close this. You heard the horn honk right there. I'm not sure if there's a way to turn that feature off or not, but it's kind of funny all the time when I'm like on my lunch break and I just want to sit here with a car off and it just honks at people that are like nearby and they're like, why'd you honk at me? And it's like, nah, I'm not really honking at you. It's just kind of the way it goes, but just a little GM quirk. I know a lot of their cars do that, so not too big of a complaint again. Alright, you guys, that's going to do it for this video. I appreciate you watching throughout this whole entire thing. Again, everything I was complaining about in this video is things that you would see in any other domestic performance vehicle, any other domestic vehicle, period. So I want you to know I absolutely love this car, and like I said, it took me quite a long time to come up with things that I would actually dislike about this car. So we've got many more things coming up in the near future. If you like what you saw today, please like, subscribe, leave me a comment, show some love. I appreciate each and every single one of you. And I hope to see you in the next video.